Hello, listeners and fellow book lovers. Welcome to The Book Snug, a bi-weekly conversational podcast about books and the reading life. My name is Stephanie.
And I'm Julia.
We're a mother and a daughter who love reading and talking about books, the ones we adore and the ones we don't. We're delighted you're here, so grab your favorite hot drink or ice-cold beverage and settle in for another cozy, bookish chat.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Julia.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I am excited to talk about our books today.
I am too. It's good to be back in the book snug.
Yeah.
May's been crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to be heading into a holiday weekend that's going to be a little bit relaxing. And
Oh, it will be for me. I'm so sorry for you.
But it's just nice to slow down and talk about books. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about going away for the weekend. We're going to the same place. We're just doing slightly different things.
Right.
But I've been thinking recently about the places in which my soul finds rest. I mean, apart from finding it in God, but the places on earth where I'm the most happy.
Yes.
And as much as I love the beach, which is what we're getting ready to talk about, I have realized that I find so much peace being in the woods. Like sitting, reading by a campfire. And so I am so excited to do that this weekend and to just be still.
Do you know that there is a term for that? The Japanese have a term called Shinrin-yoku, I think. It means forest bathing. And it is just being in nature and letting the natural world just wash over you. I agree. I definitely find a great deal of peace and connection to God in nature.
It's a deeply, and it sounds so cliche, but it's a deeply spiritual experience, I think, sometimes to be in the woods and just be.
Yeah.
I love the beach, but I get a very different feeling of relaxation than I do camping, than I do sitting on the beach. So very much looking forward to that this weekend. Our topic today is about the beach and the books that we're taking to the beach because we do have an upcoming beach trip, which we're like 100% excited for.
Right. Our whole family, my parents, my siblings and their family, their families, and our family all go to the beach together every other year. It's a big family reunion type of trip.
Yeah.
I say that loosely because we see each other regularly.
We all live within, 20 minutes from each other regularly?
Yeah, we are not a family that has spread across creation. We've all stayed pretty close together. But we do take a big beach trip every 2 years together, rent a house that we all fit in. And
it gets bigger and bigger every year.
Right, because we keep growing. Yeah. We keep adding in-laws and... Kids
are getting married or not getting married but want to bring their person along and
it's the type of beach vacation where we pretty much relax the whole time. The place that we go doesn't have a boardwalk. It doesn't have
a nightlife.
It's very just beach.
Yeah.
And some nice restaurants here and there, one tiny little shopping area. Yeah. 2 grocery stores.
Some water sports if you're feeling particularly excited one day.
And one very good smoothie shop.
Yes. On a donut shop. You can't forget the donuts.
Oh, yeah, donuts too.
There are some people in the family that would be very upset if you forgot the donuts.
Right. So our vacation pretty much consists of getting up, leisurely starting your day however you want, moseying down to the beach, moseying back for lunch, moseying back down to the beach, or staying at the pool, moseying up for supper, and then hanging out in the
games.
Evening. Yeah. So this is why reading is such a big part of it. For me, anyway. I love reading at the beach. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to a relaxing vacation filled with books.
Well, I was going to ask before we got too started in this conversation what you're drinking, but I think it's just an afternoon for us both where it's grab what you can and keep moving.
Today I'm going with ice cold water.
Yeah. And I'm drinking, we say Izzy, but other people might say something different. The sparkling apple.
Izzy.
Yeah. Flavored juice, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I needed that little, I was almost asleep on the couch. So I needed just a little bit of sugar to get me going here. regarding reading patterns at the beach, because I think for both of us, it's a time where we do a significant bit of heavy lifting in our reading for the year or 2 years or whatever. Is there a particular way that you think about your reading at the beach? Like, do you plan it, or what does that look like? I'll leave it open-ended.
I only plan it in so much as if I'm taking physical books along, I need to pick the ones.
You can't take your whole bookcase.
I can't take my whole bookcase. I do take my Nook. That's my e-reader. And that has a ton of books on it. But I always like to have some physical books as well. But for me, planning too hard is like putting a TBR together. And as soon as I do that, then I won't want to read the books that I put in the pile because I'm such a rebel that way.
Yeah.
But I have to decide. So I do have a list of books that I am going to take. The books that we're going to talk about today, though, probably won't go to the beach because by the time we leave, I will have completely changed my mood and what I think I want to read. And so who knows? But I do have a list today to share with everybody.
Well, right. And it's changed, 4 or 5 different times anyway since we've started thinking about this script?
Well, if we're going to be totally honest, we've tried to record this a couple times.
Yeah, I was not going to say that, but yeah.
And every time we record, I have different books. And I have different books today, too. Yeah. So it's just who I am as a reader. I accept it. I embrace it. I'm just going to go with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have a core group of books, though, that I definitely am looking forward to reading.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you? I know you're more of a TBR person and you're more liable to stick to it than I am.
Which is really interesting that you say that because I'm in a pretty major uninspired rut. I mean, I'm reading Pride and Prejudice and really enjoying it. But I think I've hit my reading slump for the year. I read a book in spring that I think is what threw me into this kind of a little bit. As I'm thinking about the beach this year, as much as I have a whole list of summer books I want to talk about or read, I know that they're not the type of story that I want to take to the beach. They're either heavier topics or just thicker or, whatever. So generally, I'm probably impulsive with what I put in my beach bag. Of just grabbing, this looks really good, or this looks really good, or, whatever. We haven't mentioned this yet, but there is a bookstore at the beach that is an absolute must stop at.
Yes.
When we're down there. And as we've begun to make it a ritual, I'm going to say a ritual of shopping at, I have begun to plan that I'm going to get some books there. Like I will allow space.
Yeah.
In that. But this year, I think a lot of what I'm taking is impulsive nostalgia reads, if that makes sense.
It does.
So it
sounds
not
like comfort reading.
Yeah. So it's not typically what I would have planned to have taken. And it's a definitive move away from my TBR.
You mean your summer TBR?
Yeah, okay. My structured reading that I've been doing so far.
Yeah.
But every year is also different, I think, for me.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you mentioned you said a reading rut. I'm in a reading slump right now. I've been doing pretty good with audiobooks. I'm staying interested in the books I'm picking up. I'm enjoying. But I am really struggling with picking up either a print book or an ebook. I'm not in the mood for anything. And for a while, I was dealing with that by getting books out of the library because I thought I was just kind of tired of looking at my owned books. But I can't even really find anything at the library I want right now. So that is kind of making it hard to pick books to take to the beach because I'm not really excited about books. But like I said, I do have a core group of books that I definitely want to take along with me and I think I'm going to enjoy. So I hope that kind of reignites my interest in reading.
Yeah. And I was just thinking too, like how I mentioned that being in the woods is really relaxing and reinvigorating for me. I'm also finding, when we go on vacation, it's kind of the same thing. It's a time to do nothing and be quiet and just veg, right? And I think the reason that I have been struggling with reading so much recently is because work has been demanding so much of my mental and physical energy that I don't have any energy left to give to reading. And I'm really excited about going to the beach because it means that I'm going to get some of that energy back, which means I can jump right back in to reading. So I'm very excited about the books that I'm taking, which probably means my list is going to get significantly bigger by the time we go to leave next week, which by the time this drops, we'll be at the beach.
Yes.
But my point is I am excited for my battery to be recharged so I can get back to reading.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun being drained all the time.
Well, and it's just not fun to be in a reading slump. I don't even have any reason. My life is kind of waning off the stress a little bit, and I'm looking into a summer that's going to be pretty relaxed. So I should be excited to be picking up books, and I'm not. I'm just really struggling. So
well, and it kind of ruts and slumps, say that 5 times fast, it's just going to happen. Like, it just is part of reading life.
It is.
For anybody that can maintain their energy and freneticness with reading the entire year, I applaud you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a reader for a long period of time, and I go through slumps pretty regularly. And I even know sometimes that certain times during the year, they're going to pop up regularly. I always know in November and December, my reading drops way off.
Which is just because it's busy.
It's busy, not so much slumpy. But when I do have a reading slump or my reading slows down for no good reason, I never get too worked up about it. I have some tools I use to maybe get myself back in the groove, but it will eventually come around.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping the beach is that thing that brings it around.
You mentioned that you are doing a lot of audiobooks right now and that you take your Nook. When you are at the beach, do you use all 3 of those mediums, or is it one or more than the other that you use?
I generally don't listen to audiobooks very much at the beach. The only time that I do is if I'm taking a walk, then I'll listen to an audiobook. But I only do that if nobody walks with me. If I have a partner, then I'm not going to listen to an audiobook. And occasionally, when I'm feeling really lazy and I don't want to use my eyeballs, but I want to hear a story, I'll listen to an audiobook while I'm just kind of not quite sleeping, not quite awake. But for the most part, I read from print books or my ebook.
Yeah.
How about you? I know audiobooks probably really won't work at the beach if they don't work in real life.
No. For our return listeners, you have heard us talk about Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies a couple of times. And I have definitely mentioned that I'm listening to it on audio. I have not finished it yet. It's now May. I'm pretty sure I started it in February. This is why I don't do audiobooks. And because they put me to sleep. So I know that if I were to take it to the beach to listen to, I'd be out in 2 minutes, flat face in the sand, drool all over the place, snoring. It would not a good look for anybody. So I generally do take physical books. Yeah. Now, that does pose a very interesting challenge for me because I've discovered that I love to read in the surf. Now, the water might be a little chillier this year to do that, but I love to read in the surf, and I discovered that I love to read sitting in the pool too. With a physical book, you have to be very, very careful with that because books and water are not friends.
They aren't, but they're better friends than an ebook and water.
This is very, very true. But I have a book that I took to the beach that I really enjoyed. Must have gotten waterlogged at one point because the spine is all crinkled. The pages are all like 3-dimensional. Yeah. So I do have to be careful of my space while I'm doing that. But I love reading physical books at the beach. I think it's the time that I love reading the most. How would you compare your reading at the beach to your reading the rest of the year? Is it more or less?
It's much more.
Yeah?
I would say it's much more per day. Or another way to say it is I read more books in a period of time than I do at home.
Sure.
If I'm in a groove and we're feeling really lazy, I could probably read about a book a day. I would say definitely 4 to 5 books in a week's trip to the beach.
Yeah.
So definitely more than my regular reading life. What about you?
Well, I think for me, maybe at the beach is when I'm the most of a mood reader because I'm on vacation and I'm being a little bit more particular about how I spend my time. So there have been previous years where I have read 4 or 5 books in the week that we're at the beach. And then there's also been years where I have bought books at said bookstore was very interested in them, and then never picked them up and only read one book in the week. So I think it kind of depends on where I'm at.
You mean where you are mood-wise, not the fact that you're at the beach.
Right. No, right. Where I'm at with my mood. But I think for the most part, I am a much more ferocious reader at the beach. I want to read everything.
Yes. I definitely really enjoy picking up a book when I'm sitting on the beach with my feet in the sand, with the sunshine and my umbrella, hearing the waves crashing, smelling the ocean, hearing the seagulls and the kids laughing. And there's just a particular vibe with that really, really blends well with reading and reading a lot.
Right. Well, and the beach that we go to, it's not a crowded beach by any means. So it's not a loud beach. Yeah. There's definitely a lot more of the beach sounds than the people sounds when you're reading too, which makes it, at least for me, easier to concentrate or focus on the story.
Right. It's not quite as distracting with the people watching, which would probably be my number one distraction. There isn't quite as much of that where we go.
Right. Although I have definitely found that there's an increase in people who like to play their music louder near us, and that can be distracting to me after a while.
Depending what kind of music it is, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. But overall, like I don't think any other local beach that we would go to, and that's in air quotes because we're a landlocked state.
Right. No beach is actually local.
No, but any beach that we would go to for like a day trip are generally so packed and so crazy that you kind of risk getting sand in your book if you open it up, or it's hard to stay focused, or whatever it is. So definitely a good reading environment at this particular beach that we're going to. Is there any type of book that you prefer not to take to the beach?
I don't think there's any type of book I would say absolutely I would not read at the beach, but I will say that my beach reading tends to be a little bit less serious. I look for plottier or faster paced books to read at the beach than I do when I'm at home. And I just want to be entertained for the most part. So having said that, I generally don't read nonfiction unless it's some kind of light, fluffy nonfiction. Sure. I don't usually pick up classics. And I would say literary fiction, probably not. I don't want a book that's going to make me think hard. I don't want to have to look up a lot of words because I'm not sure. I can't pick out the meaning from context. And I don't want to be upset, really. So I don't want to read any sad, emotionally draining books for the most part.
Yeah.
So those are the things I tend to stay away from generally. But that doesn't mean I won't pick up a literary fiction book or I won't pick up nonfiction. Maybe I've found an interesting memoir that I want to read. So there's really no book I absolutely won't pick up, except the books that I don't ever pick up.
Sure.
And I'm not going to list those here. What about you? Do you have big fat no's for beach books?
I mean, yeah. So like the no's that I've talked about before, I will definitely not pick up for the beach. But I agree with you in that I don't want to read something that's going to make me sad or emotional. There was one year, for whatever reason, I decided to take The Boy in the Striped Pajamas to the beach.
Oh, yeah.
And then that same week, I took I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I don't know who I thought I was. Those are great books, not beach
very
reads
emotional,
for me. Yeah. So I don't want anything that requires a lot of mental energy. And I think that kind of goes back to the wanting to recharge, the wanting to just blah, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't want anything that is, you said plotty, something that moves along. Yeah. I don't want anything that's slow. I want to be able to pick it up and put it down and move on, and pick it up and put it down and move on. And anything that doesn't quite fit that category, I'm probably not going to. I'm also probably more likely at the beach to be a little bit more flippant with my DNFs than I am in any other period of time. And I think that goes back to the fact that I'm being a little bit more protective of my time.
So you're more likely to put a book down if you're not liking it. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just more impulsive at the beach. I don't know.
Overall, just
right. I'm on vacation mode. Let's do whatever. It's vacation mode. We kind of mentioned a few things, but what do you like to take to the beach then?
Well, because I said I like more fast-paced books, I like lighter books, and I just want to be entertained. My go-to genres are probably romance. And the romance can be open door or closed door. It doesn't matter. That's not really why I pick up a romance book. I just deal with the sexy times as they come or don't come. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
Thrillers, I will pick up because I'm always pulled in by the synopses and then they never deliver like I think they should, but I'm still going to read a few. Thrillers or mysteries. I definitely love mysteries more. And then anything that I feel is just going to be really entertaining. So a lot of times that can be science fiction, it can be fantasy, it can be middle grade, because that's often really easy reading. And if you pick up a good middle grade book, they are usually fast paced and things clip along pretty good.
Yeah.
So basically, those are the things that I'm going to be drawn to. Historical fiction, sometimes I will take it just... The historical part of it has to be a very interesting part of history for me. But those are the main genres I think that I'm picking from. What about you, Julia? What do you like?
I want light things at the beach. So whether that's a light fantasy or a light mood, I want to be entertained. So I'm probably more likely to take books that are comical in some degree to the beach. I don't know why this popped into my head, but you were talking a little bit ago about the guys from Outlander and how they did their story together. That's probably something that I would take to the beach.
Oh, yeah. And that is a nonfiction. Yeah. But boy, oh boy, was that fun and funny. I belly laughed numerous times.
Right.
Yeah. Clanlands.
Yeah. So that is something I would totally probably not read in any other period of time, but I want that comedy. I want that lightness when I'm at the beach. I have read a lot of Dan Brown at the beach before because his action and adventure quest, treasure hunt kind of thing, it keeps you moving. You become invested in the story. And I could talk about Dan Brown in another category, but I'm not going to right now. I have also really enjoyed books that are, Simone St. James.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Horror light books. Yeah. Or spooky, paranormal, supernatural. Spoopy. I think that's the word we want. Spoopy is a term to describe books that are just a little bit creepy, but not full on horror.
Sure.
They give you tingles up your spine, but they're not going to scare you to death and make you afraid to go to sleep at night. But Simone St. James can do that.
Yeah. Anyway, for her books, at least for me, were really, really easy to get into. I read Sundown Motel. Which is, I think, heavier on the paranormal side than the mystery side.
It is.
I read that at the beach the last time I was there, and it was very easy to get into, and it kept me hooked the whole time, which makes a really good beach read because you just devour it whole.
Right. And even if you have to put it down to do something, you want to pick it back up because you want to know what's going to happen next.
Yes. That one did keep me awake at night. I had to have a little conversation with myself about going to sleep, but still a great beach read nonetheless.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah. I would also say books that are of the same environment or temperature
as the beach.
Yes.
So you want a setting that has a beachy or summery type setting.
Yeah. So for example, say maybe you are okay reading more emotional stories while you're sitting on the beach. Maybe you have that emotional capacity to read it because you have nothing else going on. Island Queen by Vanessa Riley would be a great one to read at the beach because it takes place in the Caribbean.
Right.
So hot, humid, sand, beach, all of that. Fabulous example. Or
I can give an example. Float Plan by Trish Dollar, which is about a woman who sails around the Caribbean one summer. It's a romance. So she gets a first mate that they have a relationship together. But it is just so delightful because you're visiting different islands and the settings are just so summery.
Yeah. I think that's maybe how I would categorize the books that I like to take to the beach.
Okay.
But as I have, again, started tracking more recently, maybe in the next few years, I'll have a better idea of what I take to the beach and what I don't. The books we want to share today are the books that we are looking to take to the beach with us. Now, some of these books we have not read.
I haven't read any of mine.
Yeah. Our synopses are not really going to be if we liked it or not. They're just going to be straight understanding of what the book is.
Right. We're reading these, or we're taking these because they interest us, but we're not saying, please read these books because we don't have any opinions on them yet.
Yeah. What kind of books would you like to share?
Well, I have several.
Okay.
And like I said, this list is not permanent. It will probably change a little bit. But this is where I am right now today. These are the books I'm feeling like I want to read at the beach. So I mentioned romance earlier as a type or a genre of book that I really enjoy at the beach. And I tend to pick it up more willingly at the beach than I do at other times of the year. One romance that it has been recently published is called The Love Wager. And that's written by Lynn Painter. This is a contemporary romance with a dating app and a wager between two people, a male and a female protagonist, to see who will find the one first. So they're not assuming that each other will be the one. They're each looking for somebody else. There is a fake dating trope, which I really enjoy. And it just sounds like fun to me. And I don't think it's going to require any mental effort. I'm feeling like I will just be entertained.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the open or closed door aspect. I don't know. And I didn't do much investigation to find out if it was one or the other.
Yeah. I probably would enjoy that because Ben and I met online on a dating app.
Right. Yeah.
So that would probably be very interesting to see it from like another perspective.
It just sounds cute. If I like the two main characters, the male and the female leads, I'll probably like this.
Sure.
What's your first book, Julia?
So I mentioned that I'm doing a lot of nostalgia kind of reading. I'm also, I'll touch back on that in a second. I am planning to take Holes by Louis Sachar along. And this is a
upper middle grade, almost young adult, I would say.
This is from when I was in elementary school. So it's thrown it way back. But it is a delinquent summer camp in the middle of the desert, treasure hunt, survival, friendship kind of story.
Right. Lots of action.
Yeah. The movie, I watched the movie last year and it has Shia LaBeouf in it. And it just was a fun movie. So I'm excited to read the book again and
revisit old times. Yeah, that sounds like fun. I've never read Holes. I did see the movie, but I never read the book.
What's your next?
I have another romance that I'm thinking about taking, and this is another newly published romance. It's called The Only Game in Town, and it's written by Lacey Walden. This appeals to me because it has a small town setting. I think it is a small town in Georgia named Redford. And there's a high stakes game involved, I think, with a lot of money. And the two main characters, the male and female protagonist, are paired together and they don't get along. So I think there's going to be some, I don't want to say enemies to lovers, but maybe frenemies to lovers kind of situation. Sure. Plus there's a bit of a quest because of the game that's happening. And it just sounded like fun to me. And there's a lot of outdoor activities. I think the cover of the book has the two of them in a boat paddling down a stream. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it just sounds like a good time. Again, it's a romance. If I like the two main characters, I think it'll be fine. And again, I don't know. I have no idea if it's open or closed door. But again, it doesn't matter to me. I can work around it if I think the sexy time scenes are cringy. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Next book for you?
Well, I should probably say that my spread is all over the place. So I'm not really able to categorize
That's fine.
these for listeners' ease of understanding.
There's no requirement. It's just how my brain works.
Right. I don't think I could do that easily. So the next one, so I mentioned Dan Brown. And I have read a lot of his Robert Langdon stories. So that would be Da Vinci Code, Lost Symbol, Angels and Demons, Inferno. Jeez, I read a lot of them. Okay.
Yeah, I know he's a very popular writer of kind of
Action,
adventure.
yeah. He has a couple of others that are not Robert Langdon. And I have Deception Point, which has to do with, I think it's government intelligence, Antarctic, possible UFO.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Yeah. And because I know how his writing is, I know I'm going to get into it easy. I know I'm going to read it easy. And it's just going to be a good pick up, put down kind of story.
That's exactly what we're saying is a good beach read.
Yeah. So I'm actually excited to read it. It's it looks like not mass market, but it's the smaller paperback and pretty thick. So I might not have physical energy to hold that book open after a while, the whole beach thing. Either way, I'm excited to get into that. I've had it on my shelf for a number of years, so it's about time to tackle it.
Sounds like a good time.
What's your next, Ma?
My next book is an older book by an author I enjoy reading. I brought one of her books to the show earlier at Christmas time. I read a book by her. The author is Jenny Colgan, and the book I'm thinking about taking to the beach is Sunrise by the Sea. And this has to do, for me, exactly what you mentioned earlier, where I like to read books based at the beach or in the summertime when I'm at the beach or in the summertime. So that's why I'm choosing this book. This one in particular is about a grieving young woman who has lost her grandmother. She's having a really hard time getting over the loss. And so she decides to move out in the middle of nowhere. She picks this little place in Cornwall. And she's hoping to just be left alone, have some peace and solitude, and deal with herself. But it sounds like the little community that she moves into will not let her alone. And so it ends up being a found family and developing friendships kind of situation. The other thing with Jenny Colgan is she almost always has like a romance subplot. It's never full on right in your face, I don't think. But those are the types of books I actually like the best. I like a story that has a romance interwoven through it. So I'm hoping that's what we have here. And I know with Jenny Colgan, I'm going to just get a delightful story. So I'm looking forward to that.
Is she the author who did the Scotland Christmas book?
Yes, and the title of it is completely escaping me. But yeah, it was the little bookstore on Victoria Street in Edinburgh. I can't remember the name of the book.
I don't remember.
But I really enjoyed it because I love the setting. And she's really good about creating this place, this sense of place. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds good.
What's up next?
Yes. So the next three, I guess a little disclaimer note here. The next three I'm going to talk about fall into my spring book category, but that's because of my reading rut. I haven't finished my spring books. And the end of May, beginning of June for me is always, there's a different feeling to those 2 weeks for me than like the end of June or the beginning of May, right? Like I think I saw the first lightning bug of the year last night, which was so exciting.
That's early.
I know.
Yeah.
And I even like made sure it wasn't lightning or anything, and he just flicked his way across the driveway. So I'm going to take some of the books with me that kind of tie up my spring reading, maybe because there's an adventure to them or there's a romance, but kind of continues that theme. So I'm taking The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien to the beach.
Absolutely love this book.
And it's like I was talking about that adventure.
Yes.
It's not a light adventure by any means, but it feels kind of light, maybe because of Hobbiton.
And Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is, as opposed to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, there's a lot of humor in The Hobbit.
Yeah. It feels like a lot of sass back and forth between everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And there's real growth in Bilbo Baggins. Like he really grows. I almost said as a person, but he's not a person. He's a hobbit, but he still shows growth.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to reading that at the beach too.
And that'll be fun. That's a quick read too. It doesn't take a lot of time.
No. I put my seasonal Spotify playlist together, and I found a fabulous version of Misty Mountains of all bass singers to put in my spring list.
Really?
It has been fabulous to listen to. So I will probably not be listening to it actively, but thinking of that the whole time I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Oh, it is such a good version.
We'll put the link to that in the show notes.
Oh, it's really good.
I can't wait to hear it.
Okay. Are we still talking about romance books, Mom?
We are not.
Oh.
We are moving into mystery thrillers.
Okay. What a change.
It is a change. The first book I want to talk about is Slow Horses, and that is by Mick Herron. This is a series on Apple TV, which I did not know. I just stumbled across this book in the Barnes & Noble in the mystery section, and it sounded interesting to me. It's about disgraced or washed up MI5 spies, and they are called Slow Horses. That is their title.
That's disrespectful.
They've done things that have made them less than appropriate spies to be out in the field, and they really want to redeem themselves. They want to get back to their jobs. So they come across this situation where there is an abducted young man, and they decide that they're going to save him and take care of the bad guys to redeem themselves and get back in the game. Yeah, on their own. And as you would expect in a book like this, nothing is as it seems. So the young man isn't who he seems to be. The abductors aren't who they seem to be. So I think it's just going to be kind of an interesting, spy-ish, political intrigue kind of thing is what I'm expecting. That's all I know, though. I don't know anything else. I've never read anything by this author, but I anticipate it's going to be fast moving. There's going to be lots of twists and turns, and I love that for a beach read. So I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah. Is it supposed to be comical? Like, do you know?
I have no idea. If it is comical, that would be even better.
Yeah.
But I do not know. It could be very serious.
Okay. Because all I have, and it's probably totally off base, is just the image of like an off-brand Men in Black running around causing chaos because they're not good enough spies for the big leagues.
Or Mr. Bean. What was the movie with Anne Hathaway and
Get Smart?
Get Smart. Yeah, a movie like that. Right. I don't know. I have no idea, but I am intrigued enough to pick it up and find out.
Yeah. Cool.
What's your next spring TBR book?
Yeah.
That you want to take to the beach in June?
Well, but it's the first week of June, so it still works, okay?
I'm just teasing, honey.
I know. Anne of Green Gables by Ella Montgomery.
Oh, I love Anne of Green Gables, too. You're picking some wonderful books.
Well, I have never read Anne of Green Gables all the way through. I know when I was younger, we tried to read it together and never got
I started
through.
Reading it, but we never finished it. No. I don't know why.
I don't remember how far we got.
Yeah.
I know we started over a couple of times.
Yeah. I should clarify that. I started reading it to you, but we never finished.
Right. We were reading it
at
not
bedtime.
Together, but right. I was watching you read it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've read Anne of Green Gables numerous times myself.
Yeah. If you don't know the Anne of Green Gables story, correct me if I'm wrong, Mom, but it's Anne.
She's an orphan.
Yeah. So it's her life with her adoptive family.
Right. A brother and a sister.
Yes.
Yes. And Anne is just this bigger than life personality, very dramatic. She loves nature and poetry, and she's just everything means more and feels more to her
she's
than
probably
it does
an HSP.
to other people. I'm sure she is, but she's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that one.
She does crazy things, not on purpose.
Right.
They just happen.
Yeah.
She just gets herself in scrapes all the time.
Yeah. I have been challenging myself to bring more joy into my life. And one of those ways I know is like romanticizing my life. And I know that Anne of Green Gables is one of the most perfect examples of doing that for the springtime.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to doing this little bit of self-care or even just joy, spending time in joy reading this at the beach. If
you like Anne, the author who wrote Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies did a retelling of Anne with magic.
Okay.
Yes. So then that would be the next step. I haven't read that yet, but that is definitely on my to be read pile.
Yeah. No, that sounds really good.
Heather Fawcett, I think, is the author.
Well, I'll have to finish Emily Wilde first. But
and Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah. Okay, do you have another mystery thriller to bring to the table?
I do, and I'm going to pair two together because it's by the same author. The author is Rachel Hawkins. She has a new book out. I think it came out this spring called The Villa, and it takes place in Villa Estes in I'm thinking that it's on the Mediterranean, but I'm not really sure. And it is a dual timeline. I'm going to say mystery. One of the timelines is 1974 and a murder takes place.
Ooh.
And the other timeline is current day. And the woman who is at the same villa, both timelines happen at this villa, she starts investigating the murder just out of curiosity. The reason I'm picking this up is, number one, the setting just sounds perfectly summery. And then it says in the synopsis that the book is inspired by Fleetwood Mac, the Manson murders, and Percy and Mary Shelley and Lord Byron, and the summer they spent together at a castle, I think, in Switzerland. So it was that whole thing that interested me. I think it's just going to be a fun mystery in a very summery setting. The second book I have by her is an older release called Reckless Girls. If you see the cover of this book, it looks tropical. It's yellow with pink hibiscus. And this is about two women, I think, who go to Hawaii and then hire a couple and their boat to take them to this special secluded island. When they get there, there are other people there. And then I think we have like an isolated, closed circle
and then
murder
there were
mystery
none.
situation.
Okay.
So that's all I know. I don't know anything more about that, but it just sounds also very summery, very mysterious, very plotty. So I'm hoping that that's what those two books are. I'm taking them both. I don't know that I'll read both, but I will probably read one or the other. And I know when I was showing them to you, Julia, you said the villa sounded interesting.
Yeah,
that's the one with the blue cover and the lemons on it.
Yeah. Well, and I was not at that part of Italy where it's like Italy, Switzerland, etc. But a lot of what they're talking about is very reminiscent of my time there. So it automatically piqued my interest.
Yeah.
You were talking about how Reckless Girls, they're being on the secluded island. Right? Sounds perfectly summery. And all I can think of as you're talking about it is that it totally changes the vibe of being on the beach for me, because I don't like, it feels like there's a cloud passing over the sun and it's not hot. And now there's a whole other thing happening. So it's just interesting how those are two very different takes on what we like to read at the beach.
Exactly, because I think it sounds great.
Right. And it probably is fun. I'm just not going to read it at the beach.
Okay. So what is more your vibe at the beach? Give us another book, Julia.
I have taken one of your recommendations from our Beauty and the Beast chapter.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
I'm going to take Belle of Belgrave Square by Mimi Matthews.
You will love it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's
I don't
wonderful.
read romance very often. And so I'm very particular about the romance I read. And it just sounded sweet and lovely enough that it made it into my beach bag.
Yeah, I think you will really like it. It is closed door for sure. And the relationship between the two main characters that develops is just lovely.
Yeah.
And it's a romance, so you know you're going to get a happily ever after. So that's always good.
Yeah. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah. And you mentioned it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so that's pretty much all you have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I will say it's closed door. I generally have a preference for closed door, only because I think sometimes open door can be really gratuitous. But I will say, at least for me, if I'm going to read an open door, the beach is the best place to do it, because I burn so fast that nobody would know if I was blushing or not. Even if I have myself fully protected under an umbrella and a hat, my face is always red, so nobody would know.
Well, there you go.
I know.
There's your camouflage.
I know. So then what is your next category? Are you taking any more thrillers?
I am going to mention one more thriller. This is a new book that is just recently out. It's by Megan Miranda, who is an author who writes very solid mysteries for me. They're never 5-star, but they're always entertaining, and I always have a good time. This book is called The Only Survivors, and it's about a group of classmates who get together at the Outer Banks for the 10th anniversary of a tragic accident that happened when they were in school. One of the people there disappears, and that leads everybody to question what really happened at the original accident and then what is going on now.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Now I don't have this book yet.
Okay.
And it is new. So it's a hardback. I'm kind of hoping that the little indie bookstore has this.
Oh, probably.
So I can purchase it and support them. So we'll see.
Yeah.
If not, I'll probably get it as an ebook.
Yeah.
And read it on my Nook.
Okay. That sounds good just in general. Like a good mystery kind of. Almost sounds like Sundown Motel kind of starts in the same way.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Exactly.
So now I just want to read something similar.
This doesn't have any supernatural aspects.
Which is probably
it's just a straight up mystery.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. What's your next book?
So there was recently a book sale in our area to support the local library, and it was massive.
Yes.
And I definitely bought way too many books than I can read in the near future. One of the books that I got there is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. And this just sounds like it's magic. A woman who's getting older is writing everything down, and people are finding it.
I think what happens is she's an author.
Yeah.
And she has another writer come in and start to write her story.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's storytelling and magic and
has a very gothic vibe. Yeah. There's a mystery involved.
So it sounds perfect. I mean, it probably is a good fall book too.
It is absolutely to read on like a rainy weekend.
Yeah. So if I don't get this done now, it's probably going to get done in October.
Yes, but it would be a great beach read too. Because like I said, I like a little bit of darkness on the beach.
Okay, Mom.
I'm leaving the thriller mystery category now.
Oh, okay, good. Phew.
I have just a hodgepodge of other books. I mentioned earlier, did I mention that I like middle grade? I did earlier in the show. I am going to take The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise. That's written by Dan Gemeinhart. And the reason I'm taking this is because it is like a road trip questy type of story. It's about a young girl and her father who has been traveling and living in a school bus for the last 5 years. Her mother and younger sisters were killed, I think in a car accident. And ever since then, they've just kind of been living on the road. But something happens that she wants to return home desperately, and her dad doesn't want to. But this becomes a road trip, and they pick up people along the way. So there are themes of grief and found family and what home really is in this story. So it's getting rave reviews. It's pretty recently published, I think. And I'm pretty sure it'll be a quick read because it's middle grade.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. It could be sad, though. This might have some sadness.
Yeah. It sounds almost like a comp to Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech.
Definitely. It's one of the books I thought of when I first picked it up.
Well, we can probably talk about that in our next chapter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a preview, Walk Two Moons, of what's coming up next.
Yeah. So back to the book sale, I picked up another book there that I want to take, The Liar's Dictionary by Eley Williams. I have had this book on my, when I'm going into Barnes & Noble and I'm not purchasing anything, I take pictures. And I've had a picture of this book for months now. So I'm excited I got it really, really cheap, firstly. Yeah. But secondly, it's about words and about, so I like books with words. And if I'm understanding correctly.
You like books with words.
I guess what I meant is I have often thought of writing and language as words as a magic in and of itself. So any book that is focusing on that, thank you, Mom, for laughing at my word choice.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Now.
If I'm understanding the premise of the story correctly, somebody is restoring or researching or analyzing a dictionary that was written in the 1800s. And the person that was writing this dictionary was putting in little side snippets of different things going on, whether to be funny or to be satirical, whatever. And it's the unfolding of all of those different snippets in this dictionary. The back of the book reads like it's going to be in the similar kind of writing style as Stuart Turton, who wrote Evelyn Hardcastle. So I really liked his writing there. And so I think I'm really going to like the writing in this story as well. And it just sounds really enjoyable for me.
Sounds fun.
All things aside, I'm excited.
My next book is another new release that I'm getting from my library from where I work. I work at a local community college, and it's called Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson. And I think that this book is basically rich people behaving badly. It's been comped to Crazy Rich Asians, which we have both read and really enjoyed. I enjoyed the whole trilogy of that, of Kevin Kwan's books. I don't know how this is going to go. I might really like it. I might really hate it. It depends how the rich people behave and how the story is written. Yeah. So we'll see. But because I liked Crazy Rich Asians, I thought I would give this a try, especially if it's light and frothy. Yeah. I will probably really enjoy it.
That's such a tongue twister. Crazy Rich Asians.
I can't.
Crazy Rich Asians.
It's hard to say quickly. Yeah.
The next set of books I'm going to take are based on your recommendations.
Okay.
So all I have is that going into it. The first one, Nevermoor by Jessica Townsend, you literally put in a bag and gave to me and said, here, read these. And it's a middle grade magic book.
Fantasy.
Yeah.
It's been comped to Harry Potter.
Yeah. And it looks like it might be Harry Potter meets the Wednesday Netflix show that was really popular.
Yes.
Now, I didn't watch that show. However, that same kind of feel.
Yes. So it's a little bit, I don't want to say darker than Harry Potter, but it has a little bit of a different feel than Harry Potter.
Yeah. So I think this will be a really fun, quick, in quotations, read. And then the other one is Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. And this also takes place at a beach-like setting.
In an island off the coast of North Carolina. Yeah. And it takes place during the summer season. Yeah. So it feels very beachy.
Yeah. And that's all I know.
Has magical realism. So there's stuff. And it does have a little bit of a supernatural aspect to it. It's so good. I wish I would have saved it for the beach because it would be a perfect beach read for me.
And the cover's pretty. And so there we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the final one that you're absolutely 100% topping off your beach bag with?
I don't know if this is absolutely going with me, but it would be a great beach read, and I can get it from my library, so it's probably going to go along with me. This is probably the heaviest read that I've talked about so far. It's called Island of Sea Women by Lisa C. And it is about the, I hope I say this word right, Hanyo, who are free diving women from Korea. They live on the island of Jeju.
Okay.
And this story follows the friendship of two young girls who learn how to do this free diving, and then it follows them, I think, across their lifetime. I've read Lisa C. before. I read Snowflower and the Secret Fan and loved it. That was years and years ago. So, and my sister just highly recommends this book. It's swimming in the ocean. It's based on an island, so it feels very beachy to me. And it is a book I've wanted to read, so I think I'm going to take it along. If I read it, that's great. If not, I will definitely read it some other time. Sure. Okay, Julia, I think we've come to the end. What is your last book that you're going to take to the beach?
My last book feels like a homework book.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Only because it is a larger book, and we have to read it for an upcoming episode.
Right.
And that is Dune by Frank Herbert. And I'm only maybe 40 pages in, and it reads quick. Like, it moves at quite a clip.
Right.
But
it has short chapters.
Yes, I am having a heck of a time keeping people straight. And the politics, I'm like, what is happening? And it's taking me quite a lot of mental energy to devote to it. And that's probably why I'm struggling, because as I said, I have nothing to give. I know that if I don't take it along, I'm not going to get it done in time, or I'm going to be panic stressed to get it finished. And that's just not a way to read a book.
Right.
So
maybe if you said, I'm going to read 20 pages a day, that might get it done for you. And you won't feel like you're stuck in a book.
Yeah.
And you don't want to read that much of it, and then you're not picking up anything else.
Right. That was my initial plan, and now it's been 4 weeks since I purchased it, and now we're here. So
Dune doesn't seem to fit any of the definitions or categories of beach books that we've talked about.
None of them.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably going to be a fine story. Yes. I just wouldn't generally read it at this point in time.
I am currently reading Dune as well. I'm much further along than you. I will say it does get easier as far as parsing out who is who.
Sure.
That gets easier. But it might be helpful to write down.
I know.
It would be really helpful in the front of the book. I hope science fiction and fantasy authors and publishers are listening. In the front of the book, always put a map.
Always.
And always put a list of characters and who they are and who they belong to.
Yes.
Because it makes it so much easier.
Yes. And some of this will come back up in this next episode as well.
Well, those are, I feel like, some really good, fun books to be reading at the beach. Yeah. Again, I just want to stress that most of these books we have not read. So we are not giving book recommendations here. We're just sharing some of the books we're excited to be picking up specifically for a relaxed beach vacation where we just want to be entertained. We just want to have some fun. Right. Want to go to some fun places and meet some fun people and enjoy some romance.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have read some of these,
tell us about them.
Yeah. We can report back after the beach, after we read things.
And let you know how we feel, what we actually read, which for me could maybe not be anything on this list.
Right.
We don't know.
Right. And if you aren't yet following us on Instagram, we will be posting while we're on the beach, what we're actively reading, where we're at. So if you want to be nosy about that, just check us out there.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram.
At the Book Snug Podcast. I think there's an underscore in there somewhere.
The Book Snug _ podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. We're on there. I promise. You can find us in our show notes.
It's all listed in the show notes.
When we say May has been a month, we are not kidding.
Since Julia brought up Dune, I feel like we need to tell our listeners that we are going to be participating in our second 3 Ps in a Pod series, which is part of our podcast, where we ask a special guest to join us and they pick a book that we can talk about in depth with spoilers.
Yes. If you are looking to get a better understanding of what that is or how we'll do it, we did our first episode a couple months ago, which we can link below as well.
Where we talked about Maggie O'Farrell's book, The Marriage Portrait.
Yeah.
With my mom and Julia's Nana, Jo Hart.
Yes. Yes.
This time, the book that has been suggested is Dune.
Yes.
By Frank Herbert, which is a classic sci-fi book.
And really popular right now because of the movie.
The movie, yes. I tried to read Dune several years ago and put it aside. I just could not get into it. Now, I will say I'm having a better experience this time, much better than I did that time. But it's been a little bit of a struggle. More for Julia than for me. So I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation. We'll reveal our guest at the episode. Right there, we're not going to say who our guest is, but we do want to let you know what the book is so that if you feel like picking it up and reading it and then joining our discussion or listening to the discussion, you're very welcome to. You don't have to read the book, though, to join us for the discussion and meet our special guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listeners, thank you so much for joining us today and spending part of your day with us and for listening to us get all excited and have googly eyes for books we're going to read at the beach. Yeah. We hope you have a great day and we hope that you will join us in our next episode where we will be talking about books that make us think of summer.
Yes.
So these could be books that are set in the summertime, that have a summer feeling or just are reminiscent of a time that we read a book in the summer. Yeah. So it's not necessarily that this book is set in the summertime, but we read it in the summer and we associate it with summertime.
Yes.
So that's what you have to look forward to. Thank you again for spending part of your day with us, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye, friends. We'd love for you to continue today's conversation with us at the BookSnug _podcast on Instagram and at the BookSnug podcast on Facebook. All of our episodes can be found wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as at our website, thebooksnugpodcast.buzzsprout.com, where show notes for every episode can be found. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at thebooksnugpodcast@gmail.com.
As C.S. Lewis, one of our favorite authors, famously said, "You can never have a cup of tea large enough or a book long enough to suit me." And we wholeheartedly agree.